Happy beta day, everybody. We had beta release a day early, as I'm sure many of you know. Really exciting stuff. It's been a totally crazy weekend for me. I'm sure that for a lot of Artifact fans out there, this has been a little bit nuts of a weekend. For me, I promise you, it was pretty insane. But yeah, came out a day early. I had a chance to play a couple of hours of the beta. And I actually had a chance to play a really sweet game. It was against Hafu and Dog, actually. I'm a big fan of theirs. And it was a interesting draft game because there was a couple of the interactions that were fascinating. I kind of learned a lot from this particular game of how different cards interact with one another. That, and it was just a sweet game that I had a chance to win against these Hearthstone players that I really like. So I want to share it with you guys for all of those reasons. Couple things to note before we get into it, though. One, I'm going to do this cast a little bit differently. I'm going to be kind of analyzing it as I'm going through it, as opposed to usually how I do it, where I cast the whole game and then do analysis afterwards. This is going to be changed a little bit. Just kind of, I think that I don't have a lot of time to do both right now, but I think that just doing it in this way, that I'll cover everything that's really necessary for it. And if you have any feedback about that, please let me know, because I want to hear it. Second thing, be sure to check out the submission page. It's on my website. You can submit clips, you can submit games. It can be your games, it can be somebody else's games for me to analyze, because I would love to get some great resources for people and say, like, okay, like, this is an interesting game for these reasons. And if you submit the best video of the week for that, you can win a $5 Steam gift card. I'm also giving a $5 Steam gift card for the best comment of the week for release right now. I'll try that out for a little while, but it'll be a good way to get your insights of what did you think was interesting, what did you think was going on in the games that I missed. So with all of that, let's get into the game. So, in many respects, I kind of mentioned, like, I think that my deck was just kind of better than theirs. This is, as you can see just from the hero matchup, that they're very similar decks in many respects. So, I'm like, as I'm saying, this is partly me saying, like, yeah, I'm bragging I had a really good time playing against them, and it was really cool to win against them. But at the same time, this wasn't really fair. You're going to see why exactly as we play through the game. First lane here, we're of course going to be following this from the Hafu Dog perspective, because I didn't record this because I'm a dummy. I should have turned it on just as we were getting started, just because, so to have it. Now, I did play out the Hellbear Crippler with the hope of curving into there. That's obviously a bit of a long shot, but, may as well take it. It's good to note, though, that the matchup between Keith and the Ursa, they both kill each other. This matchup, by the way, is much more favorable for the Viper, which is quite good for me. Viper is a card that, like, I haven't decided yet whether Viper is better or worse than Farvon. It's really close. The passive ability in certain kinds of decks ends up being pretty good. I think, though, that in this deck, I should have probably been playing the Farvon, now that I think about it. This one's really close. I might change that even for going forward. But yeah, like the Viper, he's not a great card. He's really slow. Yeah, so we're both playing out the Prelix here. Now, both of us want to try to play in a place where it's less likely to match up against anything that it's actually going to be able to threaten it. I really don't want to play into, for instance, the right lane, and neither does Dog and Hafu. It's worth noting, by the way, that like the rights are the same for both players. It's just been one of these kind of like optical illusions of playing in a digital space. But yeah, I was really taking on this. The reason I go for the leftmost lane, though, has to do with like hoping to deploy some improvements, going down the lanes. I guess that doesn't make a huge difference, though, because it's obviously the main improvement is the barracks that I have access to, which is, of course, Prelix's card. Really, really good card. You're going to see that in this game. It does extraordinary work. This is a really interesting turn, though. And I can't remember if I had the Compel. There's a Compel in my hand right now, by the way. But I didn't know if I had it in my hand at the beginning of the turn or not before I played the Prelix. I don't remember that. But from this point, the Dog and Hafu, they play the Stonehall Elite, and they end up playing it in front of the Hellbear Crippler. And then I have the Compel in my hand, and I have the option to either compel the Keith to attack the Stonehall Elite, or I can compel the Ursa to hit the Hellbear Crippler in order to keep my hero alive and kill their hero. This is in surprisingly like close play, particularly because I have the card Annihilation in hand right now. I had the card Annihilation in hand from the very beginning of the game. This is part of what I was saying about like being a bit of an unfair matchup, like being against a red-green blue deck, especially with the blues Prelix type deck with Annihilation in your deck. Like, it's so stupid. That card is messed up. So part of the reason why I was thinking about trying to kill the Stonehall unit and letting my Keef die is that maybe it would allow me to set something up kind of like further down the line to get a good annihilation off on that lane. But I actually decided that keeping the Keef alive for that turn and then maybe force him to be taken out over like the next turn, he could then come in on the following turn afterwards. So that's part of the reason why, because I think that either way the Urza is going to be dying, and also the Urza does hit a little harder for now. I guess it also means that he doesn't get hit by the minus armor effect. Now this lane is getting scary, by the way. It is worth noting that the Magnus is being set up here to die on upkeep, which is sweet. I mean, this is something that you kind of like heard like streamers and stuff like that, you know, talk about a good deal of the upkeep kills because of that Viper Strike. It's actually like very seriously real thing to consider in terms of like how do you allocate your cards. If you can set something like that up, it does set them off a good deal longer, and you feel that tempo loss in the course of the games. So, yeah, I lost my LC. Now watch that right lane. That right lane is going to be really interesting in my mind over the course of the rest of the game. And just watch exactly how much I commit to that lane and how much is necessary to commit to that lane. It does get 2 creeps there. Now, if you look at this in terms of the hero placement, we have the Tide Hunter that's coming in on my side, and we have a Chen that's coming in on their side. The Tide is very obviously going to be going into the mid lane, and that's because, I mean, like, the Ravage is going to be really good there, hopefully at some point in the future. The Chen coming into the left lane is not a huge surprise. I mean, you're hoping to be able to get him matched up against something like the Prelix. The Prelix, like, God, she is such a powerhouse, just really doing lots and lots of work. We do have the opportunity, though, from here on the side of Dog, that they can play out the Selfish Cleric in front of Prelix, which I think is actually a pretty good play because she's so dangerous to keep around. Like, and that's something that I was like, you have one blue hero, keeping her off the battlefield is really important and really useful. See, okay, this is what I do. I do play the barracks that went to the third lane. But yeah, okay, so Selfish Cleric comes in, doesn't go in front of the Prelix though, and I'm not sure what the rationale is here. If it was just the idea of like we're winning this lane anyway, why bother trying to push the Prelix? They're not really winning it though, like all things considered. You'll see that like also the interaction in my mind of barracks with Prelix and Annihilation is really good at establishing some tension in these various lanes that helps to, I think it makes it harder to tell exactly what's going on and what my game plan is. I am spending my mana while I'm in this lane, but I'm not actually committing anything new to that lane, which ends up like feeling really good for me. I mean, we lose some stuff. That's a fine interaction there, especially when you have the idea that I have Annihilation in my hand. Like, it's very hard for me to be upset about what's going on there as long as my tower is staying alive with pretty good health. Okay, mid lane here, this is the one that's more concerning because that Prelix has the potential to get out of control. Actually, that's on their side. The Prelix does have the potential to get out of control, and she's going to be, yeah, so anyway, here. So I play out the Cheating Death. This is I only have the one green hero, so Cheating Death is definitely not the greatest in this deck, but I mean, it's fine. Get the Blade of the Vigil here on the Tide Hunter, which is quite good. It does help to chop things down, but that tower on my side is not going great. Shopping phase. I have the opportunity to buy some stuff. They have some opportunity to buy some stuff. They'll be up for the Signet Ring, yeah. Just a little bit of gold, nothing special. Building item decks, man, is it hard. Wow. Like, I do not know yet how much of the special stuff that you're supposed to be putting in there. Like, I think that if you were to default to, if it's not one of the basic items and it doesn't have the name Stonehall in the name, don't play it in your item decks to start off with. Just take a little while to get used to it. Maybe like 1 or 2 to just experiment with. Oh, or Blink Dagger. Blink Dagger is all you see, like an entire other thing. Blink Dagger is messed up. But I think that if you were to do that and just like really keep everything else out of that item deck, it'll probably more right than wrong, usually. Okay, now there is this question about when to pull the trigger on something like Annihilate. The fact that they're on a double red, double green, 1 blue deck makes this really easy for me, though, because it's so hard for them to reach out and do anything to Prelix herself to mess her up. Like, basically, it's Intimidation. That's the card that you have access to right now. Also, it should be noted that the current beta build, you cannot see your opponent's deck. I don't know if everyone's aware of this, if this is the update. As they used to have it that you could scroll and like check and look at your opponent's deck. Now you can't do that at all. But so one of the things that I'm seeing here is like, the Keith is trading with the Ursa, not exactly trading, but they're both setting up the barracks. I mean, I did this one into the mid lane for the purposes of trying to keep that one alive, because it's obviously under a good deal of pressure. There's a lot of creeps in that lane. But, so things are going relatively well. The Burning Oil, too, like, this is a card that I have been reasonably impressed with in the times that I played it, especially it's just so cheap, and just getting that little bit of value. I've been really enjoying, my decks. I don't know if it's just me, but I've been having some, like lower curve decks. I try to prioritize that, and it's working well for me. I think that starting with some, cheap, consistent decks as best as possible, and then kind of like scaling up from there might be good. I don't know. I tend to be the kind of person for all the draft formats that I like to just see how much I can get away with. So maybe I'll probably fall prey to that sometime soon. Now, the reasoning why they start off by doing the Signet Ring in this instance is to sort of protect from the Legion Commander dueling the Prelix, but then I play the Broadsword on it to set this up. So yeah, Prelix dies. They called this as well. It was pretty obvious that I was setting this up. And there's just so few ways for them to interrupt it. This does allow me to stay alive in this lane, which it still looks rough, but I am gradually paring that down. Heath here is going to accomplish nothing, just taking 1 damage and just getting a gold, I guess. Like, that's fine. Does have the opportunity to do the Fighting Instinct. Yeah, because they do the Fighting Instinct. It means that he's getting 1 less damage per turn, but it doesn't do anything exactly. Especially given the fact that you can see right now kind of what's going to end up happening there is there's just going to be a creep spawning in front of him every turn, because I have the barracks there. Now, sometimes there's going to be 2 creeps that are going into the lane, one of which will be in front of him and one of them which will be not, but, like, he is actually in this really rough spot at the moment, because there's no way to get through that without committing a bunch of extra resources to that lane. And that just feels bad, because you've already, like committing a bunch of resources into a lane that you're kind of already been behind in, and your opponent isn't investing them in themselves. It's weird. So that tension is kind of what I was aiming to pull off here, and using that barracks in that 3rd lane. Okay. So Holy Persuasion is off cooldown. Now, they didn't... I was listening through... Like, I went back and listened through this while I was doing this recording. And also this Signet Ring here. This is a minor thing to say, like, oh yeah, just get some less gold as well. Just to add insult to injury when I annihilate them. They pull off the Holy Persuasion. I was hoping that they would do this. Also, I was actually even wondering about whether or not I should do an Annihilation if he didn't pull the trigger on doing the Persuasion, because I wasn't taking that much damage. I could probably hold off for a little bit, since my tower is at only 8. And you'll notice here that this is going to be a problem that comes up a lot in red-green decks, because they just have very few methods for punching through. They can't point and click and remove something exactly. They don't have, like, they only have the Intimidation that really does that, which is like an okay-ish tool, but really not exceptional. There's very limited tools for doing this, and as a result, like, if you were able to establish a board presence like in front of them, like, they can't get around that exactly. They have to punch through it. So that's why especially cards like Barracks are such a powerful counter, because they just constantly feed, and they're just going to slow things down again and again. Now, this right here, we have the Hand of God, which does keep their things in good position, and it actually means that I don't have to Ravage here, because it means that I can just play out, this Spring the Trap in order to block those 2 creeps. I take no damage, and then able to do the Ravage next turn, which is preferable given the fact that I'll actually set up a really favorable combat then. But that was actually, I think, one of the key choices that's going to end up making this game turn my way. So, given the position that we're in right now, it's probably good to take some moments to kind of refresh what exactly has happened with the game and how different things have interacted. One, we've had this Keith that was totally negated by this one barracks and has stopped that lane, kind of frozen it. First lane, I was able to set up an Annihilation to totally blow them out. I mean, they definitely had a good advantage in the lane, but in some respects, that advantage was a result of me underdeveloping into that lane because I knew I had the Annihilation, and that was the lane that I was going to do it in. So that's another factor that's going on there. This does also allow me to play in the Keith into that lane, hopefully try to line it up with that Prolix. But yeah, so there are... The only lane that I'm really in any trouble in really is the mid lane, and in this actually instance, I feel like they should have probably deployed Prelix right. And that might seem weird, but the thing is that there's a really good chance that the Keef goes to the left lane, and because there's nothing there, and I kind of want to establish something, and you probably need to deal with the rightmost lane because it's getting a little bit out of control, and Prelix is really good at that, given the spells that she gives you access to, like the Dimensional Portal or whatever. Because if all I had in this lane was the Keith and the creep there, then I mean you still probably think that you're winning in the mid lane, given how things have worked out. So you are trying to set up a kill on mid and bottom, or 2 and 3, and then sacrificing the first lane. I'm not sure though. That's a weird one. Now this was one that I set up an initiative so that when I go into the mid lane I can ravage. And of course, being able to do that with initiative means that they can't do something like Arm the Rebellion or any other green nonsense. They've actually been doing a particularly good job in this game of kind of keeping them off of their green spells, that they just have been in awkward positions, not be able to deploy them. So the fact that they have a handful of these green spells, like Cheating Death is another one in hand right here, that would really frustrate me if they were allowed to do that. But that's kind of the reasoning why I did the initiative into the Ravage play here, which helps this lane really go my way. I do end up taking in this pretty quickly there afterwards, though, as you can see it now that the entire wave has been stunned. This down portal, though, I think is actually a really smart call. Just kind of realizing that like what that Ravage represents is that this lane has gone from feeling like it might be slightly advantaged to now definitely disadvantaged. I guess that was a little bit of a, like, probably could have figured that earlier from the way things were going to look, knowing that the Ravage was there, but yeah. Also, just to note for that Thunderhide pack, it might seem like it's a bit overkill there because it doesn't exactly set me up for a kill that turn, and it is a little bit strange in terms of the pacing of setting up a kill on the Ancient. The thing is with that is that I only have the one green hero, and when you only have one green hero and you don't have very much in the way of ability effects, I don't have like Blink Dagger or whatever that I have access to, you kind of just want to like spam your green spells when you can. So playing that out there, it does, like, maybe there's a world in which I can set up a Ancient kill over 2 turns, but it's not that big of a deal. Now, in this position, I want to deploy the Prelix into a lane in which he is least likely to die that isn't the center lane. The center lane feels like it's one, and it's going to be hard to set up that Ancient kill that I'm, like, been thinking about, but over 2 turns. It's probably over 3 turns, and as a result, like 3 turns is enough for a good draw to actually end the game in lanes 1 and 3. So I want Prelix to go to the right lane in order to hopefully slow things down further there, use things like Dimensional Portal, use things like, I don't like whatever it is that I have access to in my deck in order to do that. I don't have a lot of blue spells left yet in at this point in the game, though. Dimensional Portal, though, comes out into lane 1, which is definitely spooky when you're pairing this with Arm the Rebellion, and there's not a whole lot that a Keith by him that's lonesome can do about this. So, were the game to continue to go on indefinitely, he probably does put down the first lane, does bring that down. That Prelix is both sides of the battlefield a ton. Now, it is worth noting that they didn't draw any copies of Barracks, which is one of their better cards, and it's a really good card against most red decks. Also should note, though, I had a Smash the Defenses in my hand all game long, hoping for them to deploy a Barracks, so that would have been it wouldn't have been quite as good, at least the first one copy of it. And there just wasn't even that many opportunities, because Prelix has been dead a lot. Yeah, so this is obviously overkill here, but once again, it just doesn't matter because I have nowhere else that I can be spending, that I can be playing green cards, and this is very, very confidently sets up a 3-turn lethal on the Ancient, with the possibility for a 2-turn lethal that's a little bit less likely, but maybe something really special happens. Third lane, finally. Now, one of the main reasons, was this. I wanted to do the Dimensional Portal, because I think that basically solidifies things that maybe I can push down that tower, but they really can't push down my tower there, and it's just going to be basically impossible for them to win the game, given the fact that the central lane is going so badly. So that'll do it for today for the gameplay. Thank you so much for joining me. Just want to emphasize once again, I know that this is a little bit, I played them. That's really cool to beat these Hearthstone pros. But, I know that my deck was better than theirs, and having access to Annihilation is just unfair in this matchup. I'm not trying to, sugarcoat that. Yes, that was really exceptional and change this matchup around, even though some things weren't going great. I think they played really well, though. Maybe one or two minor points that they could have played around things differently, but watching through things, it made a ton of sense to me, and I learned a lot from listening to them talk about it from their perspective, and then going back and watching the video. So, and I also honestly think this was my best played game of Artifact yet. So I'm still learning a ton. When we're actually playing the game, it's really, really hard. I'll be talking a little bit more about that experience on my Secret Shop podcast. That'll be coming out tomorrow evening in the audio version, and then probably in the video version, it'll be coming out to the morning of Tuesday as this is coming out. But that'll be it for today. Remember to check out Ink Gaming, because they're awesome and they have wonderful, great Ink Gaming swag, and I think there's a sale happening very soon for them as well, but be sure to use the link that we have in our description to let them know that we sent you there. Then also, of course, send us those submissions. You have a chance to win a $5 Steam gift card, also $5 Steam gift card for great comments. This was a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun playing Artifact. Game is great. You guys are great. Take care, everybody.